everybody, and welcome to Every Day's a Train Wreck. We have another amazing episode, and today we are going to talk flowers. So I have a great guest, that I want to introduce to you. And Mr. Michael here is going to talk about his career and how he gets to play with flowers. And as we were doing that kind of pre-interview, I was just thinking, oh, that sounds just so relaxing right about now. So he's going to tell us if it's really actually that relaxing. He's going to give us his backstory, and he's going to tell us all about him and where to find him. So Michael, welcome to the show.
What a treat to be here, Marley. Thank you for having me. Excited to tell some stories.
I'm excited too. Okay, so give us your full name, your company name, your backstory. Like, how did you get to doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Michael. I'm Michael Jacobson, and CEO of the French Florist brand. Technically, I have that title, but done everything from delivery driver to you name it, right? The interesting part of what we're doing in a nutshell is we own 5 and soon to be 6 corporate locations, French Florist locations, but we're franchising now. So a lot of the French Florist locations that you're seeing that are open are actually other owners that are coming into our system and are the day-to-day local operators of those stores. So now we, as kind of the founding folks that have gotten French Florist to product market fit and have put something really special into the market, what we feel is special. Now we're one owner in that community, and we're building a community of other French Florist owners coming together to bring what we think is a far superior experience in buying flowers to the market. So that's what we're doing. And and how I got into it.
Before you tell us that, tell us, where did you start? Like, where are you based and where are you still based?
Yeah. So I'm based in Santa Monica, California right now, originally from the LA region. I studied up in Seattle, beautiful area, but I missed the sunshine, so I came back down. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you're listening what your background is, but maybe you can resonate with this. I've always kind of had that fire in my belly, like you might have had too, and something more entrepreneurial, to be my own boss. I think a lot of people feel that way. Right when I graduated college, I was like, I don't know if you hear the statistics of how many startups fail. Yeah. And I didn't want to take that risk. I got a job offer, paid really well, especially for out of college, right? It's like first time you're earning money. It's probably the richest I'll ever have felt in my entire life. Like my bank account went from $500 to $5,000. And I was like, oh my God, like this, I made it.
Right.
So, but anyways, it was, I have to be polite when I talk about it. And it was a great experience. I learned a lot, but if I'm allowed to be a little controversial here, it was in a room with, other old white guys in suits, and in a boardroom environment. It was a consulting job. I don't even know what consulting means. And I'll just say it didn't feed the fire in my belly. Right. So I committed to working for that firm for a year, fulfilled that commitment. And as I approached that end of that year, I really had my ear to the ground. And like, okay, I gave this firm what I told I would give them to them at minimum. And I'm going to go look for my next opportunity. And next thing you know, I got a kind of lucky. My uncle called me and he said, Mike, I have owned this flower shop for 38 years. Yeah. And I'm tired. I'm not making any money. I need to sell the business. I studied finance in undergrad. So I'm sure I wasn't his first call, but he decided to call me at some point after maybe talking to a business broker that didn't want to take the business. But that's beside the point. And he said, can you help me sell the business? I said, sure. And that's how I got into it. That was 6 or 7 years ago at this point. He looked at me a little funny when I said I wanted to take it over after a couple of months of working on it. But I saw these massively, massively systemic issues in the floral space that he wasn't suffering with, all florists are suffering with.
And
where there's pain.
Pause. Yeah. His business is in Santa Monica.
Right. So his business, the original location was on Melrose, in the West Hollywood area. And then so we've since moved close by, but that's still the original location, is kind of like just outside of Beverly Hills.
Got it. Okay, so keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how we got to where we are today in a nutshell.
But how did that whole thing work? So he says, did you have a contract? How did you value it? Did he just say, here, take it? What was the deal?
Yeah, it was losing money at the time. And so he had a lot of pressure to do something with it. Like, if, you're putting your own money into the business month after month, it becomes a really stressful situation. So, right. I came in and said that it's really was not in sellable condition. He was trying to sell it for a fair amount of time and wasn't able to. So I quit my job and had enough saved up where I could live for a few months and be okay and experiment with, I mean, this was one path, and it was, I really wanted to join a startup or something. So, but yeah, after a couple months of working with him, we were cleaning up the books. We were cutting costs. We were not like cutting costs. One example of the first decision I ever made, we were paying $13,000 a year for our phone bill. And it was a horrible phone system. We were paying a similar amount, $12,000, $13,000 in printer ink, because an order would come in. We had 5 or 6 different printers, 2 of which were like used as fax machines. In fact, the orders would literally come in through fax. If there's one industry that's antiquated, and like, again, I'm being polite when I say that, it's the floral industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I talk about the systemic issues, the technology and operating infrastructure is one of them. The dominant market player in our space right now is 1-800-Flowers. I'm not on here to bash any competitors. That's not my job. We're here to make our company the best it can be. But pragmatically, the way that they work, they take your order online and syndicate it to a local florist. That's totally fine, I guess. But the problem with it is they take up to a 40% commission after all of their fees on that order. And so the florist is getting crushed. You're breaking down, the florist is the one that's supposed to deliver and create magic for the client. Yeah. If the florist is not happy, it's like, you got to make sure the florist is feeling really good so they are able to provide a great client experience. That's part of it. Supply chain was really messed up, right? So many different problems. And so, but where there's problem, there's opportunity in my mind. So my uncle did look at me a little funny when I didn't have the money to purchase it, but for better, for worse, he was kind of backed into a corner. So I said, look, I'll take the business over, but I'm going to have to pay it through the profits of the business. So we worked out a deal, and that was in January 2019. I didn't purchase it fully outright until 2021. So I officially kind of owned the business in 2021.
And I mean, I have so many questions, but one of them is, that's a pretty big pivot from consulting. I mean, like consulting, you can do sitting on your rump, and you're looking at your computer, or unless you're going out to meet client calls, right?
I think that we have to ask ourselves why, what do we want to do in life? But like, why do we want to do that in life?
Yeah.
I think that I did some soul searching. I think a lot of people right out of college, they, go through a crisis to whatever degree, a large degree, a small degree, but it's like, oh my goodness, I've been in this structured environment for so darn long.
Right.
I just joined a corporate job where like it's sucking the living soul out of me. Like,
all right.
I was in crisis mode, right? So I knew I didn't want to stay in crisis mode, and I needed a big change to get me out of that.
Yeah.
And my aunt actually, I was an orphanage in Mexico. She started, it's crazy. So I have this, crazy, my uncle's a florist, my aunt's running an orphanage. My dad was a doctor. Their stories are for another day.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at their different paths, and I ended up living with my aunt for about a month, kind of between my corporate job and my first month being involved with French Florist. And she really helped me try to work through like, what is it that I really want in life? Her philosophy is dedicate your life to service, right? Of course. Yeah. And she's following and living by that.
Right.
So I asked myself, what is my why? And it took me a long time to figure it out. I think, we're not human beings, we're human becomings. I think I'm still figuring it out.
Right.
We'll always figure it out. But for us, just to kind of cut to the chase, ultimately, our mission at French Florist is to create a more loving world. And for me, I look at some friends that are becoming doctors and working in the emergency room that are saving lives. I look at the wars that are happening out there in the world between Ukraine and Russia and India and all of the wars that are happening. And we're sitting here playing with flowers. How does that make sense?
Right.
How do we rationalize that? But I do think.
How do you answer the question? How do you rationalize that?
Look, if I do nothing else on this podcast, and I do want to tell you all of the stories of our ups and downs and how things became a train wreck. But if I do nothing else, I want to help you look at flowers a little bit differently. And I'll answer your question, I promise, but a little bit of context for it. Flowers, our name is French Florist, but we're an American brand.
Right.
How does that make sense? Okay. We are an American brand. We don't pretend to be French, but we borrow ideals from the European and specifically the French way of living, where flowers over there, at least right now, they're a way of life. They're not necessarily considered a luxury. They're a part of people's lives. They're kind of like a need to have. They have to enjoy flowers, if not daily, maybe weekly. And Americans, we are viewing flowers right now as a luxury. Okay. We buy them for happy birthday, happy anniversary, congratulations, all the Hallmark holidays like Mother's Day and Valentine's Day. That's fine. I think that's fine. But I would go so far as to say that let's take Mother's Day, for example. I think that we should have Mother's Day on November 12th. Because your mom deserves flowers more than once a year. And if you
I agree. I hope my kids are listening. Yeah.
Yeah, my hidden agenda here is to get all mothers more flowers. It's not limited to mothers though, but like if you buy someone flowers on a random Tuesday, I would argue that that's more powerful and more meaningful of an experience for both. I would say both the giver and the recipient than receiving it on an obligatory holiday. But okay, let's back up for a second. I'm not trying to necessarily shift consumer behavior. Let's meet people where they're at. They want to buy flowers for a happy birthday, happy Mother's Day, fine. It doesn't matter why you're sending flowers, even if it's for something sad, just to go to the extreme example of if you're sending flowers because somebody died to a funeral and you want to give a feeling of shared grief and your condolences to that person, that's really meaningful. So it doesn't matter the occasion. What you're telling the person when you give them flowers is that you're thinking about them.
Absolutely. Which is
care about them and that you love them.
Mm-hmm.
So at the root of what we're doing is love. And I'm yet to be convinced otherwise that there's a more powerful human emotion that exists in our world. And so love is the industry that we work in. And we feel very lucky to be working with that emotion. And so how do I rationalize it is the question. I think that helping to create a more loving world, I think there's no better gift to show that you love somebody than flowers. I truly believe that.
And you don't get fat when you get flowers, by the way.
I think pizza is a close second. You could get
I agree,
pizza.
but second on the lips, a lifetime on the hip. So that's why I'm right now very pro flowers, especially as we're coming into the holidays. Yeah.
Precisely. Right. And so, I think we feel very good about the mission that we're serving, which is to create a more loving world. And flowers are a heck of a vehicle to go and do that.
Now, when you talked about, you were kind of talking about systemic issues about, when you went in, right, in floral shops and stuff. What about, because to me, and I talk to entrepreneurs all the time, systemic issues of entrepreneurship are all about, right, where, I can totally understand the whatever $13,000 or $12,000 annual phone bill or the $11,000 like ink cartridges. And I think part of that is because as an entrepreneur, you're wearing so many hats, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like scope creep. You just like, you sign up for the free subscription and it's free. And then next month it's going to go to $7.99 and you're like, okay, whatever, I'll cancel it by then. Yeah. But then sure enough, it's like, oh, we're notifying you that it's not going to $19.99. And then by then somebody's stolen your credit card and now it's, you've got 9 of those, right? And it's just like but you're just going through the day because who really stops and says, let's analyze our ink cartridges, right? It just doesn't necessarily work that way. So do you agree or do you think it's just only the floral business?
Running a business sounds stressful the way that you put it. And it's a very real answer. I don't disagree with what you're saying. And I wholeheartedly agree with it. It's hard. Mm-hmm. The thing is that there's a few guarantees in life. One of them is it's not going to be cherries every single day.
Right.
And these are somebody else's words, but they resonated with me. Like if you're in the world of business and your business is declining, it's going to be stressful. If your business is stagnant, it's going to be stressful. If your business is growing, it's going to be stressful. Like if you don't have a business and you're working a job that's sucking your soul out from you, like that's going to be stressful. That's kind of the table stakes of life. And that's, some of the purpose that we get to develop as humans comes from like that tension and that struggle and like finding our way, the obstacle being the way, right? I think Ryan Holiday wrote a book about that. I think hopefully I'm getting that author right, but it was a great book. And so I think that I'd rather be choosing my challenges and be stressed about that kind of stuff. And
right.
I'm not saying that stress doesn't exist, but like if I'm going to choose my stress, that's going to be the kind of stress that I want.
Because you're the entrepreneur. Now, franchising is it is such a thing in and of itself. How did you decide I'm going to go from, okay, I'm playing with flowers, which I totally get, but then to now, because franchising is all about systems. It's systems. It's businesses already making the money between the wallpaper and the wall. So now it's all about systems. So what made you decide to do that?
Yeah. So I'll kind of walk you through the decision on why we decided to do that, but know that every decision that we've ever made, and still to this day, and I view it as my primary job to make sure that this philosophy or guiding framework of how we make decisions, how anybody makes decisions in the company stays in the company so that anybody who's being involved, because as we grow, more and more people get involved, including our franchise owners. And, but this is the guiding framework that I hope that we can continue to maintain, and we put a lot of work into that. The guiding framework is that we optimize what's going to create the best client experience. At the end of the day, I'm not in control of whether I'm successful or not, as much as I want to be, and as much as sometimes I delude myself to thinking I am. It always comes back to bite me where I'm just not in control. The marketplace is. We get to build something that we think hopefully is beautiful, that the market will like. And if the market likes it, then we have a fighting chance of being successful. So that's our North Star. Again, like, not to be too controversial here, but we raised a small amount of capital a year or two ago. We raised capital in a very specific way where our investors don't have any control of the company, because they're going to put the shareholders first, right? Not our clients, our internal team members. Now, we have to make sure our internal team members are feeling incredibly healthy and good working for French Florist. Because if they don't feel that way, how are they going to have that translate to a great client experience? But anyways, I'm saying some controversial stuff. We're like, we actually put our clients above everything else, even above our franchise owners, above our internal team members, above any of the shareholders we have. Like, because if we don't have an exceptionally happy client, then nothing else. We don't have the privilege of working on our team health. We don't have the privilege of hopefully creating great returns for our shareholders, which is they're the absolute bottom of the rung there. So, but anyways, that's the guiding principle. So anyways, we've been obsessively focused on how to create a great client experience. By obsessively focusing on this, and I'm going to make a big leap here. So there's stories that we could get into, but we took that flower shop from losing money. The average flower shop does about $300,000 to $350,000 of revenue, and that's about 10 or 15 years of operating that flower shop. A lot of the times,
is that a U.S. number, or is that a US international? Got it.
It's a U.S. number. Yeah, good question. So by obsessively focused on making decisions from that lens, the first flower shop, we had to move to a bigger facility, but out of one location, one 3,000 square foot location, we're doing about 9.6 million in revenue.
Jeez Louise.
So, and it wasn't through anything other than making decision after decision after decision on what's going to create a better client experience, and just obsessively focusing on that day in, day out. It was a lot of hard work.
Those are huge numbers. So that's out of one location?
Yep. Yeah.
And so how long did it take you to get to those kind of numbers?
That took about probably between 3 and 4 years. So it was a pretty quick growth.
Yeah, I will say. And how do you think, yes, I get it, focusing on the client and experience, the whole thing. What about the actual, takeaway? Like, you did Facebook ads, you did, I don't know, I'm making this up.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
how, like, so if somebody's listening who has a small business or is thinking of getting into a small business or as a side hustle and wants to grow it, how did you do that part?
Yeah. Really it's where is the most pain? You can, once you solve the pain, then you have an opportunity to go and do what we call and what's known as innovation, right? Mm-hmm. Where you can innovate beyond solving pain and create things that the consumer marketplace might not even know that they want yet and test. Yeah. And with innovation comes a lot of failure, I will say. So be careful for that. It's expensive too. But no, the pain was coming from really bad supply chain, really bad operating technology, a lot of intermediaries like 1-800-Flowers that we had relationships with that a lot of flower shops do. So we cut those relationships, increasing the unit economics in our financials to be stronger. So we actually decreased revenue, but had that revenue be more profitable as some of the first steps that we did. Build better bones and get the foundation strong. We worked on our internal team. We cut pretty ruthlessly folks that were not A players, and the folks that were A players, give them massive raises and make sure that they feel great working with us and for us, and understand our why and why we're operating, right? We had very, very strong bones with a good product, but I could sit here and say to the consumer marketplace, we have a great product. We have the best customer experience. We have the best X, Y, and Z. That's super boring. And honestly, companies that tout that stuff don't provide those things more often than not, I found. And then those things are earned. It's not our place to say whether we are that or not, right? So where does that leave us? We focus on the emotion, our belief on how special flowers really are. We put flowers on the pedestal. Look, I don't care if you buy flowers from us or not. We just want you to buy more flowers because we understand how special they are. And I think that if you understand how much weight we put on that, maybe you'll trust us to deliver that experience for you. But that's not ordering through us isn't our North Star, right?
But a lot of that is operations, and it's cutting and it's cutting your costs and making smart decisions about who you're promoting, et cetera. And that's great.
So marketing came into play.
So so what was the marketing component that got you to that level?
Yeah, it really started with basic stuff, right? Like 95% of our business comes from online and 5% from walk-in clients, generally across all of our locations. Those are our averages. And so we got really good at digital. And so with digital,
there you go.
you have to have good bones where the web architecture of our website and the SEO infrastructure that we built out was incredibly robust. We retained probably 3 or 4 different SEO agencies to help us do a re-architecture, and we only wanted to work with the best, right? I mean,
Now, how did you know to do that? Like, did you have some experience in that background?
Yeah,
background in that experience?
No, I don't have any background in that. It's really a focus on where is the company, where are we facing pain?
Right.
And we had relationships with these, we call them order aggregators like 1-800-Flowers, Teleflora, FTD. There's like 15 of them out there. And they're taking massive commissions. And what are they doing, right? They're marketing online, getting orders and syndicated to us. So like, okay, we need to figure out marketing. Right. So we didn't have the money to hire like coaches or mentors or anything like that at the time. And so one of the highest ROI things I've ever done is like buy a book. I would buy like 6 or 7 books on the topic, read them. And that's how we figured it out. But it was, I'll share a photo too with you. I had my mattress in the flower shop and I would, stay there and read. And so it is an extraordinary level of dedication that was required to do that, and just a ferocious appetite to learn. I know my fulfillment comes from learning. So I lean into that and know that. Anyways, there was no silver bullet. There was no magical thing. It was a lot of digital infrastructure, operating stuff, getting the right team in place. Marketing was definitely a part of it. Supply chain. There wasn't any one thing, but it was solving all of those issues, and we had to solve them one at a time. That's why it took a matter of years to do it. But solving all of them created this like virtuous cycle where we had a better product. And so people came back and ordered more. So that increased our customer lifetime value. It allowed us to invest into conversion rate optimization to increase, the website performance a little bit more, which allowed us to invest into product innovation, which got us even better products, which got us even better client experience, gave us more margin to purchase more from farms. So we could go direct to the farm instead of buying from wholesalers, gave us higher quality product at a lower price, gave better client experience there, better margins. We took that margin and invested into some now, but we can do like paid acquisition on Google and Meta and all these things, right? So this one issue didn't solve it. It was the solution of all of them that created this beautiful virtuous cycle for us to maintain a great growth.
Right.
But I mean, there are ugly sides to it too, where I was sleeping at the shop. I was earning less than anybody else in the company, including our delivery drivers for a while. It doesn't always need to take that, but that's the package.
If you want to get to those numbers. And so a big component in driving the numbers was the marketing and like if I'm hearing you correctly, you didn't reinvent the wheel. You said, who else is big out there? In this case, it's 1-800-Flowers or whatever. And you said, whether it's them or similar model. And you said, what are they doing? And obviously they were getting a lot of bees to the honey, meaning their website. And then you're like, okay, let's do that. And then let's just now work on, of course, the conversion, but at the back end, having a great product and the customer experience. But it sounds like there was a good amount of work.
Okay, here's the silver bullet for you. Okay. Yes, we did all of those things. We didn't reinvent the wheel. And we got our internal and external kind of stuff to be a 10 out of 10 experience.
Right.
We didn't stop there. I think that's how great companies die. They become complacent. We're like, oh, we became the number one player, or we have the best of this and that. And so they just they're on autopilot and they maintain from there. We've developed, through time, we didn't come up with our core values right away. We didn't even know what our core values were. But through time, we understood what our core values are. So we have them now, and we really do live by them. One of them is they actually spell out LOVE. They spell out love. So it's love what you do, own your impact, value connection, and exceed expectations. So we'll talk about the last one. This is the silver bullet. Exceeding expectations. It can be interpreted in so many different ways, but when we look at it, we usually look at it from the lens of how do we exceed consumer expectations, the clients that are ordering with us. We brought all of the good business practices forward. And instead of saying, okay, we think we're delivering a 10 out of 10 experience, stop before you deliver that. What's the one thing that you can do that's going to push that experience to an 11 out of 10? So another book recommendation for you, if you haven't read it already, is Unreasonable Hospitality. Mm-hmm. It's a great it's a great framework for how to have an unreasonable level of hospitality.
A lot of books on that mattress.
Yeah. Yes. And so like just one example, send a handwritten note. It doesn't have to be like, sometimes our team thinks it's this big lofty goal, but it could be something very simple. Send a handwritten card. It's so understated these days. Thank the client for ordering and share with them how that made our team feel, how lucky we are to feel that, they're the ones that helped us create the magic. We're the vehicle to go and deliver that experience for them. What an extraordinary thing that they've done. Make them feel the hero of what they just did. Make the sender feel like, I think people they think about how wonderful the experience is receiving flowers.
Right.
I almost might argue that sending flowers is more of a wonderful experience.
Right.
It's a great thing.
Right.
So, how do we communicate in a great way to make the sender feel really good about themselves?
But then how did you decide we're going to do the franchise thing?
Yeah. So, okay. We started doing really well. We're making money finally. We opened a second shop. It started to do really well. We opened a third shop, started to do even better. So we're like, all right. After the third shop, we were like, okay, we have a proven system here. We've replicated it. We honed in the systems. And what are we doing? Do we want to open a ton of corporate locations and dominate the floral industry? Because and we're not ambitious for ambitious sake. I do say we are aiming to become the nation's number one player because nobody else is doing it as good as the market could or should. That's why we're doing it. The market deserves something better. We wouldn't be doing it if we thought somebody was doing it right. But we're happy to be the ones that are trying our hand at it.
Right.
So we're like, we knew we wanted to continue to expand. We could do that through corporate expansion. We did develop some really great technology in-house, spent a lot of time and energy, nothing out there. We would have preferred to license or purchase tech, but it didn't exist for our space. So we built it and we had an opportunity to license it to other florists and become like a tech company. Sounded like a lucrative, money path, I guess. And then franchising, this dirty word of franchising was a potential path as well. And you can tell already I had had a negative stigma with the word franchising. I thought of Subway and 7-Eleven, it's where brands go to die. I don't know. And I still think it's a dirty word. But the more that I looked at it, it's similar to how we look at the floral industry, where we like to kick up dust. We like to challenge the status quo. We look at the franchise industry and say, there are actually some good franchise systems out there. I think that Chick-fil-A could be an example of one that they're doing it a little bit differently. Yeah. Right. There are some interesting ones out there.
Yeah.
So, if we can kick up some dust and challenge the status quo in franchise, what makes a franchise, there are really positive things that can come from franchising.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, one of my good friends started a big one that just got a big award called Just Between Friends, where it's where kids, it's a national thing. And where moms, you take the kids' clothes and then, it's kind of almost like you do a swap, but you sell your kids grow out of this stuff.
Yes. Wow.
And you should check it out. It's truly amazing what they have built. And it's all the good things about franchising, like you're talking about. And it's the systems and the care and the, wanting to just have people's amazing kids' clothes go to another mom who's going to take care of those kids' clothes because they're just too nice to just give away. And it's the same thing. So, and it's so it's definitely possible.
It's so relevant too for just sustainability and taking care of our reusing where we can. Yeah.
So what's next for you?
Yeah. So, what's next is really clear. The decision to franchise, the decision to do everything that we've ever done, what's going to enhance the client experience. So we're just still obsessing with that question and finding the answers on how we can continue to elevate the experience. So, with franchising, I think that I've learned through time too, that bringing in really smart people into the organization that are really good at marketing, really good at supply chain, really good at ops, really good at whatever it is that they're really good at. Let's find their superpower. Everybody has one. Let's lean into it really hard.
Right.
It's no different with franchising too, where let's bring some really bright franchise owners into our ecosystem. We have a great system. There's a saying in the franchise industry where it's I don't like it, but I think it's funny. They say build a system where the average person who has the average work ethic, who has the average intellect on the average day can produce above average results. And I get it. What they're trying to say is build a system that is idiot proof so that your business will be successful with anybody running it. I think that's half true. I think the other half is also combine that with bringing great people into your ecosystem and then put together, you get, a really great result. Right. So we're finding great franchise owners. And I think ultimately going down that path will service our consumer marketplace the best, as opposed to opening corporate locations and hiring managers. To have a local owner and keep that local feel of our industry, I think that's a really special thing. Licensing the tech, I don't know if that would be more lucrative or not, but that's not what our goal is. Our financials are, they're the means to our mission, right? They help give us the fuel to perpetuate our mission further. So it's not all about that. So what's next for us is just one stem at a time, creating a more loving world. Any way that we can do that, that's what we're looking at.
I love that. Well, how can people find you if they want to find out if they want to send flowers? And by the way, where do you send flowers?
Yeah, we don't ship flowers in a box, so we're not nationwide yet. It's a lot of folks have wanted us to do that, but it's not treating the flower in the right way. It's not the best client experience either. So we're a really local company. We will, by coincidence, be nationwide one day, but we basically, any store that we have, we deliver kind of simply put about a 45-minute radius from that. It's kind of like a white glove delivery. It's a little bit more of a premium service. We're working on offering things that are a lot more affordable because we don't think you need to spend your whole paycheck on flowers in order to get them. We want people to buy flowers for themselves. Self-love is a big thing and important for us too. Yeah. People don't want to spend that much on themselves. They should, but they don't.
Yeah, right.
So we're going to work on that. But Southern California, Northern California, we're coming into Austin, Florida. We're coming to Indianapolis and a little bit of the Midwest. We're coming into the Pacific Northwest. So through time, but you can look us up at FrenchFlorist.com and you'll see all the locations that we service. And if we don't service you yet, we're on our way. And then if you happen to have interest in the franchise side, it's not an overnight decision. And get more information, you can reach out to us, FrenchFloristFranchise.com. Once a month, we host what we call a discovery day. You can come spend 5 or 6 hours with us, and you really get an inside look, like under the hood of what we do. Right. That's a lot of fun. So anyways, yeah, just don't be shy and don't be hesitant to reach out. If nothing else, go and buy some flowers later today for yourself.
Well, I love that. And what's your Instagram?
Our Instagram is at French Florist. And then Marley, I'll drop my email too. I mean, there's been a lot of people that's helped me along the way. Yeah. If I can be of resource or help, that's what I'm here for. My email is michael@frenchflorist.com. Again, don't be shy.
I love it. Well, Michael, this has been amazing. I'm so glad you came on the show. I can't wait to hear when it airs and hopefully get a nice bump in your Q4 business there and all of your franchisees as well. And this was amazing wisdom. And yeah, at the end of the day, send somebody some flowers and let them know you love them and are thinking about them. So thank you again, Michael Jacobson, for being on here. And you can find Michael at The French Florist on Instagram. And you got his email address. And that's a wrap. If you want to find me, you can do that at The Party Goddess on Instagram. And of course, please make sure you subscribe to the show. Leave a comment, forward to a friend. It's super important. That's how we're going to grow and get the message out. So until next week, thank you again. And thanks, Michael, for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Marley. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.